Alrighty. How you doing, folks? Ron Raymond here from the Raymond Report, along with Ross Benjamin of Ross Benjamin Sports. How you doing, Ross?
It's all good, Ron. It's all good. Can't wait for another day of NHL postseason hockey.
Gonna go top shelf today?
Well, we've been top shelf. I know that. I mean, so far, folks, look, you need to start buying these NHL picks. If you like to bet on sports and you say, you know what, I don't like the NHL, I don't like to watch it. Well, you know, the objectivity here is to make money. And like Ron often says, unless you're allergic to money, you should be looking at what's winning. And right now, Ron is 8-1 in the NHL postseason this year, and I'm 4-0. That's a combined 12-1. ATSstats.com. You can get our NHL picks.
Yeah, top shelf, Ross, where grandma keeps the peanut butter. That's where we hide our money.
Mama hides the cookies.
Yeah, exactly. No, you're right. We're having a good run, knock on wood, and hopefully we could keep her going today for Wednesday, August 5th. Now, Ross, these 12 noon games are they're awesome. You know, it's you do your work in the morning, then you flip on the TV, and then next thing you know, you got some hockey to watch. And you know, the New York Islanders, Florida Panthers is the second day back-to-back now at 12 noon. Now, looking at the SBI today for NHL, we're going to take a look at some of the numbers. Like we talk about in Major League Baseball, the favorites are absolutely killing it. It's a pretty neutral market for the NBA. Now, looking at the NHL since the restart, looking at the last 3 days, 62% of the favorites have come in, and 40% of the overs. So pretty much, look at that. 10-2 the last 2 days for favorites.
You want to put that up for me, Ron?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, you know what? Thanks for saying that, because this is our third show that we're doing this, and sometimes you get a little brain dead here.
That's okay.
Okay. And, folks, if you're listening for the first time, what we've agreed to do with Ross here is that we're separating our shows from NBA, MLB, NHL, so this way we don't keep you hostage for all three shows. Ross, looking at the NHL favorites, it's almost like the Major League Baseball here. 10-2 to the favorites the last 2 days. So, and you know, this is something we talked about in the NFL preview shows at the beginning of the year and prior to the restart. There's going to be a sense of urgencies, and because there's no home crowds, this is basic fundamentals of sports. And now the best team will win it's a neutral ice surface, so they'll take the home crowd out of it.
Absolutely. I mean, there's no emotion to draw from. You know, even if the underdog gets off to where they in a best-of-5 series, you want to get a split, right? If you're on the road in the first two games, if you're the lower seed, and then you come back home and now you're in a position where the home crowd can carry you and possibly win the two at home and pull off an upset. That handicapping factor and that element of the NHL playoffs is non-existent this year.
Yeah, no. Now we're going to kick it off here at 12 noon. Puck drop between the Islanders and the Panthers. Now, Panthers, they're facing elimination. They're going to be on the next red eye with the New York Rangers. 117 neutral ice favorite for the Islanders. The over/under set at 5. ATS forecast going to lean with the Islanders here. 3.42 to 2.34. The over/under set at 5.76. Now, Ross, you got two goaltenders here, Varlamov and Bobrovsky, I think, is for the Florida Panthers, who probably said I should have stayed in Columbus after last year. You know, this warm weather is great, but I got to start winning some games because but you know what? To his credit, it's not goaltending that's hurting the Panthers; it's the lack of goal scoring.
Yeah, I mean, especially against the Islanders. I mean, I mentioned this yesterday. I believe the Islanders right now have gone 5-0 against Florida this year, including the playoffs. And in those 5 games, I think Florida scored a grand total of 7 goals so far. Wow. So, yeah, I think Florida is going to be done after today. I like the Islanders to wrap this series up. It just does. It's one of those matchup type things, Ron, right? Where one team, even though they're close in terms of points earned during the regular season, when you get to the playoffs, sometimes one team just doesn't match up against the other very well. And I think that's the case in this series.
No, you're absolutely right, Ross. I'm looking at the last 6 games, 2-1, 3-2, 2-1, 3-1, 2-1, 4-2, all for the Islanders. And you can't win hockey games if you can't put the puck in the net. And right now, the Islanders, Pajot looking like a good pickup here for the Islanders. and I believe was it Lou Lamoriello, the GM, and Barry Trotz, right? The guy's
all the guy does is win.
Yeah, and then he gets fired.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Then he gets fired. But you know what? Yeah, I think with those kind of numbers, it's hard to go against the Islanders here today. Now, looking at the next game, you got Nashville taking on Arizona. Now, the computer sees a low-scoring game here. Preds, nice win yesterday, 4-2. You had a great stat yesterday on the puck line, and sure enough, it's now 11-0, I think, or 11
coming off a one-goal win this year, the Arizona Coyotes are now 1-11 for the year.
And that was enough to take my ticket punch it on the Preds yesterday. A nice 4-2 win. Now, looks like Saros going to go against Darcy Kemper today. Puck drop 230. Now, the line has 126 for the Predators, and 5.0 is the over-under. And looking at this game, Ross, 1.8 to 1.5, 3.3 is the over-under. Could be a low-scoring game here today. And looking at the Kogo, 25%. So, you know what? I might be leaning towards the under here today between the Coyotes and the Predators.
Ron, do you happen to have the shots on goal in yesterday's game between Nashville and Arizona?
No, but I can get it in a few seconds. That's
sure. Because I had alluded to the fact that both teams are really piling up in numerous shots on goal in recent games and applying a lot of offensive pressure. And I'm just curious. I didn't get a chance this morning to take a look at that factor.
Yeah. So looking at the box score here, Ross. Come on, load up.
So in any event, Nashville back to the wall. They didn't want to fall down 2-0 in the series. Nice effort yesterday. I believe Pecorino was in that yesterday, Ron. Did they make that change?
No, Saros was the
Saros went again. Okay. Well, Saros has had the better year. I mean, believe it or not, if you look at statistically, they're making the right move with him. And I'm glad to see they didn't veer off of him just after one loss. So while Ron's taking a look and looking for that stat that I drove him crazy to ask him for.
Yeah, you know better to ask me that during the show, but then I was going to start. I was going to throw me off the entire show. But you know what? I will get that stat for you, though, Ross. But looking at the chance of winning, 41% for Nashville, 60% for the Coyotes. You know what? This is a tough game. If I'm going to play this game today, I think I'm leaning towards the total here.
Yeah, you know what? Whoever wins this game, in my opinion, wins the series. It's 1-1 right now, I just don't see. I can't see whoever falls behind winning the next two. That's how evenly matched I think this series is. So, to me, it's a crucial game in this series.
Oh, absolutely. Looking at the next game here, Ross, Tampa Bay taking on the Boston Bruins. Now, the Bruins a minus 115 price. Over-under set at 5.5. ATS forecast, the computer pick. Going to lean with Boston here. And you know what? This is one of those qualifying seeding games. We've talked about it in the last show. The one thing I'm not too crazy, but there's no sense of urgency. Like I said, it's like a mulligan if you lose. But I was a little surprised to see Boston being the favorite here. I thought Tampa Bay would get the nod unless the line has changed. And looking at the forecast, 3.11 to 2.96, the over-under at 6.07. So it does like this game to go over the total. And looking at the last game, 4-1, Boston lost to Philly. And Tampa Bay won that shootout against Washington. I think a game where they're winning 2-0.
Yeah.
And they let Washington come back. This is going to be a good one here today, Ross.
Yeah, I like Boston a little bit here. Coming off a poor effort against Philadelphia. Tampa Bay coming off that emotional win against Washington that went to a shootout, like you said. I think Boston will be the more prepared team mentally in this game. That's just my opinion. And for that reason, and that small of price, I like the Bruins here in this matchup. That's where I would lean anyway.
So, Ross, 46 shots on goal for the Preds.
Yeah.
And for the Coyotes, 23.
Okay, so the Preds, I mean, that's now 7 to 12 games. They've had 36 shots on goal or more. And that's a really low count for Arizona because they had, I believe, 34 shots on goal or more in each of their last 6 games prior to yesterday. That's why I understand why you like the under, Ron, but I would that's what would keep me away from the total.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I'm going to sleep better tonight knowing that I got that. All right, so
Yeah.
back to this Boston Bruin game here, Ross. The Bruins here, 4-1 loss in their last game to Philly. Uh, it's unlike Boston, right? A playoff game, you think of those Don Cherry type teams, those Boston Bruins, slug them out. Hockey's not the same anymore. I know that. But Bergeron's got to step up here. Marchand's got to be his pest. It looks like Tuukka Rask might get the nod here today. I know he didn't. They held him out last game, and he looks like he will get the starting nod according to my source here. So you know what? This is one of those games where I'm gonna have to do a little bit more homework on. But if I'm gun to my head type thing, I think I'm leaning towards Tampa here.
Yeah, and the thing to keep in mind here for the listeners and those of you who aren't regular NHL bettors is the fact this is not a playoff series. This is the top 4 teams in each conference are playing a round robin against each other. So they're playing 3 games against the other teams in their conference that finished in the top 4, and this qualifies as such. And I mentioned this the other day, Ron, and I bring that up only for the reason why the urgency and intensity and desperation isn't going to exist in these types of games as you will see in a playoff series, for example, that's tied 1-1 like Nashville and Arizona is. And you may see a little bit more looser play in these games, which could result in some high scores.
Yeah, and looking at the last 6 games between these two teams, Lightning 5-4, 6-3, 4-3, 3-2, losing 1, 2-1, and then winning 5-3. So winning 5 of 6 against the Bruins. They have their number, and
some high-scoring games mixed in there.
And maybe there's a reason why Boston's a favorite here today. Like you said, I'm trying to think like a bookmaker right now, but I'm thinking more like an average fan and saying what's going on here. But maybe again, maybe the bookmakers are aware of something that we're not. But are we betting the number or are we betting the teams here?
Also, the goalie changed too. Going to Rask.
Yeah. So, and Vasilevsky looks like should get the nod here today for the Tampa Bay Rays. Colorado taking on the
Tampa Bay Lightning.
Lightning. Yeah, what did they say, Rays?
I love it. I always have to tease you when that happens.
Also, hey, we're doing 3 shows this morning.
Exactly.
You gotta tell Tampa Bay to stick to one sports team, will you?
Yeah, exactly.
Colorado Avalanche taking on the Dallas Stars today. And the Avs are a minus 140 price against the Stars. 5.5 is the over-under. Now looking at this game here, the forecast leaning with Ben Bishops and the Dallas Stars 3.08 against Philip Grubauer and the Colorado Avalanche 2.38. You know what? Dallas, tough loss last game. Helped us because we had Vegas. But Colorado 2-1 win in a gritty game against the Blues. Now, this game here should have blowout written all over it, but the computer sees 3.08 to 2.38, the over-under at 5.46. I don't know, Ross. What do you think?
On paper, I love Colorado on paper. You know what I mean? Dallas blows a 2-goal third-period lead against Vegas in their last game. That's never a good sign going into the following game. And Colorado played, with utmost intensity against St. Louis in a game that wasn't a playoff series either. So Dallas plays a lot of low-scoring games. They did go over in their first game, which goes to show you again to my theory that these games right now in this round-robin tournament, I think are more prone to go over the total than under. I might lean toward the over here, but if I had you put the gun to my head to take a side, I'd have to take the Avalanche. They're the better team right now. They finished strong. Dallas, you look before the playoffs, Ron, before the break, and they really struggled coming down the stretch. I think there's something like 6-12 against the money line in their last 18, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, they're looking old, right? Corey Perry, Pavelski, Jamie Benn. This is just those names right there. You think of an older team when then you got, on the other side, you got Landeskog, McKinnon, you got younger legs. And these are things that come into play in the third period. And that's exactly what happened to Dallas against Vegas.
Yeah, watch out for Colorado, Ron. I really think that they're a dark horse for a Stanley Cup.
Yeah, No, you could be onto something, but I think that's what happened to Dallas against Vegas. The older legs started giving out in the third, and they weren't able to.
They were worn down. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. But you know what? Look at yesterday in the NBA, right? And this is
Yep.
what we talked about we talked about this week in our podcast. You get lulled into these favorites, these false favorites, and then you get these days where it's like, oh my God, like I can't believe they beat them, and and I don't know if today's the day for the underdogs in the NHL, but that's the only thing. You just got to be careful, right?
Yeah. Again, remember, this is not a playoff series.
Yeah.
These are teams that are playing a round robin tournament right now.
The game of the day is going to be tonight in Toronto between the Montreal Canadiens and Pittsburgh Penguins. Now the Habs, a neutral ice underdog here. Pittsburgh, a -165 favorite. Over/under set of 5.5. ATS forecast, the computer pick, going to lean with the Habs here. 2.94, 2.79. The over/under 5.73. Now looking at this game, Ross, you got Carey Price, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Matt Murray back between the pipes here tonight. Looks like it's a bullpen by committee in Pittsburgh. I know Tristan Jarry got the call last game, but some plays I'm looking are seeing Matt Murray. But again, unless you're a fly on the wall, you don't know who's really going to start. But here's the good news: you got Malkin in Pittsburgh if you like him. It's Crosby in the lineup, so that's a good way to beat Carey Price. Montreal's got to find some scoring, like Jonathan Drouin. Chris Nyland made a great post on his Twitter account. He said that Jonathan Drouin is social distancing himself from playing hockey right now, and leave it to Knuckles.
Drouin, yeah,
leave it to Knuckles to poke the bear type thing.
Exactly. I mean, he's one of those players that goes in the corner with a dozen eggs in his pocket, and none of them break.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you know what, Montreal. Okay, you got Carey Price, but get over it. Like, stop leaning, like having him hold the fort. You got to find some goals here, and a couple of low scoring games, 3-2, 3-1. Maybe some series are just like, I got caught in that mindset yesterday with Toronto, thinking they're going to score, but I remember they're playing Columbus, and I think we got to be careful here if you're playing the total and you're thinking it's going to go over. Once these goaltenders get in the zone and these teams start playing defensive hockey, one man in, two, and everybody else back. Like the Jacques Lemaire years with the trap, but low scoring game here, I think, tonight, Ross.
Yeah, I think so too, Ron. I agree with you. And, you talked about Jerry in that. I mean, he played in game 2, correct? And it was a win. And I find it hard to believe this isn't a round robin type tournament with these two teams. This is, a best of 5 that's tied at 1-1 right now. And quite frankly, Jerry's been the better goaltender compared to Murray this year, if you look at the save percentage statistics. And it's a difficult call if you're a head coach, right? Because this is a guy, Matt Murray, that's won a Stanley Cup for you in that. But I think we'll see Jerry, and I also agree. I think Carey Price is going to be on top of his game tonight. He has a history in these types of games to play very well, and I have a lean toward a low-scoring affair as well.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Edmonton Oilers taking on Chicago Blackhawks. Now, looking at these two teams here, you had 10 goals in game number 1. You got 9 goals last game, 19 goals in 2 games. Anybody going to play defense here? Yeah. It's like watching a football game here. Now, the bookmakers have made Edmonton a -120 favorite, over/under at 6.5. ATS forecast going to go with Edmonton here. 3.51, 2.94. The over/under set at 6.45. So it does have it to go under the total. But you know what? Koskinen should be getting the nod here tonight for the Oilers against Corey Crawford. I don't see things changing in this series. I think it's just one of those high run and gun type games. And I think you're going to see another high scoring game here tonight.
Yeah, I mean, you made a point with Dallas about the older legs. You can make the same case for Chicago, right, Ron? I mean, the good thing is they got a lot of playoff experience. The bad thing is they got older legs, and they're playing against a very talented young team in Edmonton. It's hard to believe we're going to see a low-scoring game tonight, but the total right now is the books made that adjustment, bumped this up to 6.5, which would leave me a bit hesitant to pull the trigger on the over. But this looks like to be a 5-game series, Ron, and a real good one that I think Edmonton will ultimately come out on top.
Yeah, you know what? I'm looking. You know, maybe they solved the riddle here with Koskinen because they did get the win. I like, you know, I sort of like Edmonton here tonight. I like the younger guns here. I like that you got McDavid, Draisaitl,
Draisaitl. Yeah.
Nugent Hopkins. You know, looked pretty good in his last game. But the thing with Chicago though, I never like going against
Experience.
wily veterans, right?
Yeah. They've
Jonathan
been there,
Toews,
done that, and actually won a couple cups, a couple of these guys, you know.
yeah, the only thing missing is Joel Quenneville behind the bench, but
Yeah.
the stash and but you know what, this will be a good game. But I think if if I had to have an early lean, I think I'm leaning towards the Oilers so far. But again, you can get our top plays each and every day right here at the Raymond Report at ATS Stats. Or Ross, where can people find your selections?
They can get them at atsstats.com, which is Ron's site. You could also get them at my website, rossbenjaminsports.com. Folks, 4-0 in the NHL postseason thus far. Reminding you again, Ron is 8-1, 12-1 between us. So you might want to take a look at our picks in the NHL at atsstats.com. Also, Ron, I would like to remind the viewers, if you haven't subscribed to either one of our YouTube channels where this podcast airs, OSGA YouTube channel or the Raymond Report YouTube channel, I would highly encourage you to subscribe. Costs you absolutely nothing to do so. There's no strings attached, folks. You just get notified immediately upon the release of any of our future podcasts. And also, show a little bit of token of appreciation for our efforts. We don't ask for much. Just give us a like on today's video.
Yeah, hopefully we're we're either talking you into one or talking you out of a game, or we're making you some money. And that's the goal of these podcasts. And you know what? I said in my coaching career, you got to have fun doing things. If you don't have fun doing this, then get out.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Because if you're not having
life is too short, to be messing around with. Look, it's one thing to be uncomfortable not doing something you don't like, Ron. But when you have an option, why would you opt to do something you don't like? You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. And where else can you get hockey at 12 noon on a Wednesday?
Yeah, and two guys that actually know what they're talking about when it comes to hockey, hockey betting, that is. So.
Yeah, awesome. All right, Ross, that's it for today. Again, folks, you can find us each and every day right here at atsstats.com or wherever you download your favorite podcast. For Ross Benjamin, I'm Ron Raymond. This was the Raymond Report for Wednesday, August 5th. Shop for value, play those percentages. We'll see you back shortly with another Raymond Report.